I can't see drive it, it's not working again.
So I want to scout a seat. Is that water bottle being used by somebody? No? Good, she can sit there. All right. Am I on here?
Yeah, the technology's failed us again.
See if I can
Somehow get it back on the.
Oh, could you stand up here though, so my, so the people on Zoom could hear you? Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The way, yeah, just do it the way you normally do it on the mouse.
It's right down there.
Or on the mouse, just click the mouse.
I know, that's, I'm getting you now.
Right. Okay.
Okay, there is one up front here and one on the far side. How do I get rid of that?
I don't know how to get rid of that.
Sid got it.
I can't. It's not on my thing. Yeah, it's not on my.
No, I wasn't stopping, please, stop. So. You know. They don't.
Good.
Good.
Okay, everybody. Have a little housekeeping. So if everybody can turn the phones off and mute them, so we can get started. Everybody should have the handout sheets. One of them is
You
the.
need to be standing up here. So she can see you.
I don't have any hand.
I don't have a handout.
One of them is a handout of all the slides, so you can make notes if each slide goes by. I will warn you, a couple of the slides are different, we have to get these printers in advance. So that's all the things we need to get in order. So I want to thank you for your interest in the role of becoming club president. It's quite a challenge, interesting job. And we'll move to the next slide. Thanks. Okay, this class will teach the roles, duties, and responsibilities of the club president. Okay. This is what you're going to learn in this president's class: how to form your committees, the club officers, the role of the president, planning and running meetings, communication, leadership, all the resources that you're going to need to be a great president, and towards the end of the year, how to run the officer elections for the next guy. So the role of the president might not be what you think it is. Presidents tend to come into the position and think, you know, I'm the boss. I'm going to tell the club what to do. I'm going to get this thing licked into shape. We're going to have a great year. It doesn't work that way. The president is not the absolute king of a club. He answers to the club as a whole. He has to keep everybody happy and keep them focused. It reports to the board of directors. The board of directors is really the power in the club. It has to follow the club constitution and bylaws and the LCI constitution and bylaws. This is a standard club structure. You'll see the big black box at the top. That's the board of directors. The president's on the second row down, which shows you where the president really should be. He reports to the board. And although he's CEO of the club and chair of the board, he doesn't have the power that the board has. So you almost need to remember that where your position is in the hierarchy. Okay. So who is the all-powerful board of directors? The guys that really drive the club. There's the president, who's the CEO and chair of the club, of the board, the vice president or presidents, if you have more than one. The immediate past president, treasurer, secretary, tail twister, and lion tamer. These two are optional. Some clubs put them on the board and give them a vote, and some clubs don't. There's the membership chair, service chair, and marketing chair. The service chair and the marketing chair were brand new this year. LCI brought them in, they, typical LCI, they didn't tell us really what their roles were. We decided in our club, we put them on the board and we give them a vote. LCI is really still not determined if that's a mandatory position for a voting position or not. Our club chose to do it. Your club, your way, you can decide if you want to put those two in. And all of the elected directors. We have to remember that the president can't change the rules. Any club rule, procedure, bylaw, or constitutional provision that is contrary to the LCI International Constitution and bylaws is not valid. You can't do anything in your club that LCI tells you can't do. You need to be familiar with the LCI Constitution and bylaws for a club to see what's good and what's bad. So every time you want to change a rule, you need to look at the Constitution and make the decision which way you want to go. And the board has to approve those changes. Remember, the president is a servant leader. He or she serves the club does not serve the president. Really important when you get into the president's role. You see this from the right perspective. Okay. Remember that the president doesn't serve for 1 year. It's not July the 1st or June the 30th. It's from right now, the day you were elected as president-elect, and do 2 more years. Well, the actual presidency is 1 year. The actual work is 240 years. So you start right now and you've got to form your committees. So between now and the end of June, you've got to have all your committees chairs in place. You've got to have your club roster prepared, and you've got to have your budget prepared. That all has to be done before July the 1st. And it's the president's responsibility to get all that done. So you've got a lot of work when you go home tonight. So then July the 1st through the 30th is when you thought you were going to be the president. You run that whole year. And then after you've been the president, LCI would like you to continue as the LCIF coordinator for your club. So that's another year. And during that year, you act as a mentor for all of the other people in the club that want to move up the line. So that's the responsibility of a club president. It's not simply 1 calendar year. The thing to remember is you've got to plan ahead. You've got to start now and plan your year out. You've got to set goals for the club. When you're setting goals, you've got to work with the membership because they've got to be on board with all this. You can't do something wild and weird. And so that's potentially a problem. So set your goals, talk to everybody in the club, everybody's on the same goal. The goals have to be realistic, they don't have to be impossible. You can't say I'm going to bring in 100 new members next year. But you can say I want to bring in 2 more new members next year, something that's achievable, because if you've got goals that aren't achievable, everybody gets tired and won't do it. So you've got to plan ahead, you've got to understand the members' motivation and the needs. You've got to review the President's Manual ebook, which I gave everybody a copy of that tonight. That's kind of the Bible for the president. It's got all the LCI rules in it. You've got to review how to conduct efficient and fun meetings. Meetings have to be fun. And you plan and participate in multiple district and district events. Every president should be going to all of the district events. And you've got to plan to participate in all the conventions, definitely the district convention. You've got to get into the thing and really make the most of it. Okay, so this is another part of planning ahead, is to become familiar with the staff at LCI in Chicago. They're all great people, they're all lions. They're working to help you. So if you've got any questions at all, you can always go back to LCI in Chicago and ask the questions. If you send them an email, they'll get back to you normally within the next day. So that's a resource that you need to be aware of. A lot of people are frightened to call LCI and talk to the LCI staff. Yeah. So continuing to plan ahead. You must be familiar with the standard form Lions Club's constitution and bylaws. This is the LCI bylaws that control all of the clubs. And they're available online. You can get to them and read through them. It's really boring, but it's really important that you've got at least a working knowledge of these things. So that's available on the Lions Club website. It's updated every year. Some clubs don't have an individual constitution and bylaws. They use the LCI one, and that's perfectly okay. If you've got a club one, it can't conflict with the LCI one. Okay, the basic resources that everybody gets. They get Lion magazine from LCI. Talks about the international face of the organization. You'll get to learn more about the international stuff that's going on. Lions Pride magazine comes from state, and everybody gets a copy of that every month, or every month and a half, I think it is. And the 11B1 newsletter that comes out every month. That's got all the information on your local district. It's interesting stuff. You can get a lot of stuff out of that. You can see what other clubs are doing, and might give some of the new stuff a try. Okay. Got to be familiar with the LCR website. My opinion of the LCR website that it's occasionally a nightmare. It's really tough. The search engine doesn't work at all, in my opinion. I'm sure everybody's experienced that stuff. It has the club resource center, leadership development, program information, club supplies, and membership reporting. So spend a little time on the website and play around with it, see what you can find. It's stuff there, it's just very difficult to get to. So you need to get familiar with the service awards that the district runs. There's the Carl Surrey Award, the Governor's Club Award of Merit, and the Governor's Personal Award of Merit. I can tell you that almost no clubs do these. Certainly less than half the clubs do the Carl Surrey. It's basically a list. You go through the list, and it's in the district roster, and it gives a list of tasks that you can do. If you raise so much money on White Cave, if you've got people working in the district as an officer, you get points, and the one with the most points wins the award at the end of the year. The reason I'd like you to get familiar with those 3 awards, because it gives you targets for the members of the club. They can read these things and they say, oh, you know, if I did White Cane, I get some extra points. Or, you know, if I did this, and things they might not think about. So make sure everybody's familiar with those 3 awards. And it's always nice to get the award at the end of the year, of course, too. Okay, now you've got to form your committees. It's the president's duty to appoint the standing and special committees of the club. It's only the president's duty, nobody else's. Before he starts his year, he has to have those committees in place. And the committees are the workforce of the club. The chairperson of each committee is the point of contact from the committee to the chair, to the president, and to the board of directors. While it's perfectly okay for a member of a committee to talk directly to the president or the board, the official point is from the chair of the committee. So the committee should be working together, giving a proposal to the chair, who should then present it to the board. So these are typical examples of committees: the finance committee, White Cane, eyeglasses, childhood cancer, and so on. Now, each club has different committees, and most clubs just have the same committees every year. You don't need to do that. The president can change those committees. If you're doing Lions Mints, and after 3 or 4 years, you find out when you run through all the numbers that the Lion Mints are losing money because people are stealing the mints and not paying for them, you can drop the mint program. You've got to be on top of all of the programs and see which ones are worth doing. There might be one that's worth, you're spending hundreds of hours doing it and you're making 25 minutes. Get rid of it and put in new ones. So that's something you can be doing through your board of directors. Okay, now the committee chairs are crucial to the success of the club. And I've seen a lot of clubs that simply elect the same people over and over and over. Okay, but there's clubs where the treasurer, the secretary, and the president have been in the same positions for 20 years. It's not good for the club, It doesn't give the new people a chance to move up. So you've got to look at that. You've got to look at all the members of your committees, and they've got to be the best people you can get. And if they don't want to do it, you've got to talk them into doing it. That's the sole job of a president who wants a successful club. You've got to have really good officers. But don't forget to give your newer people an opportunity. And everybody has an assistant that's learning the job. Very important. And they need to work with the committee chair and get themselves ready for another year to move up into that position. Okay, so the president has to work with his club officers so that everything runs smoothly. Remember that the president is a member of every club committee. So his responsibility is to guide the committees and make sure they're going in the right direction and not wasting resources. But it doesn't mean that he controls the committees. The committee chair runs the committee, and the leader, the president, just makes sure it's going in the right direction. The president's biggest job and hardest job, in my opinion, is delegation. If you can't delegate, you're not going to be a good president. You've got to spread the workload and just keep an eye on it and make sure it happens. So once you've got the name of the committee chairs, you can develop the roster. Some clubs have rosters, some clubs don't. Some have one sheet of paper, some have little booklets. You've got to get all the information in the roster, all the pertinent dates for the club, stuff that's coming up, so that everybody knows at the start of the year what's going to happen during the year, when the club picnics are, when the Christmas party is, when the projects are going, so they can put it on the calendar to be available. The roster should be available by July the 1st, which is why you need to start right now working on that. The next important thing is developing the club budget. And the president has to work with the treasurer and come up with a budget. It's very important that you establish two separate accounts. This is a legal requirement from LCI. You don't have any choice. You've got to have two accounts. Okay. There's admin account and activities account. The admin account, all the money comes from fines and money derived from lions. That's the only money you can use to run your club, to do printing, anything you want. That's admin money is all you've got. Basically, it's pretty much dues from the members, and then games, fines, the tail twister will bring in. The activities is any money from outside of Lions. Projects, fundraisers. It is possible if you've got extra money in the admin account, you can move it to the activities account, but it can never move back. So think about moving money from admin into activities if you don't need it all to run your club. Never run it back, otherwise the IRS will be after you. Okay, to develop the budget, you've got to anticipate your expenses and income, prioritize spending and money to spend during the year. The board of directors have to approve that budget during the first board meeting of the year, which is in July. You cannot spend a penny or do anything else in your club until that budget's approved. And you have to remember that the budget isn't set in stone. The budget can be changed throughout the year as things change in the club, things you don't anticipate. So don't forget that the board of directors can change the budget as the year goes along. So there you go. We've got to July the 1st. And you've got most of the year. Really, what I consider to be difficult work already finished. The rest of it's kind of straightforward. But the president has to work with his team. We've already talked about that. It's very important that you have a team event. The president is not the boss dictating to what people can do. Very important you all work together. And specifically, the president has to work with the vice president, secretary, and the treasurer to form a very close-knit team. So when the president's picking some of these or working with the nominations committee to pick these people, it needs to be people he can work with. There does not need to be any conflict in this group. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We just basically initiated the new committee, and I'm going to be the president, but I wasn't able to pick any of my
staff, just like last year's president picked everybody.
Oh, the incoming president should pick or at least direct the nominations committee to get people you would like to get, because they're people you have to work with.
Yeah, they didn't answer.
Okay,
For the new year.
every club's different. I've not seen a club do that before, but that's that leaves you with people you might not be comfortable working with. Okay,
Is it a new committee now or,
Well, no, it's for
For next year.
next year.
yeah,
you should
Yeah.
should have been involved.
Yeah, nobody told me anything.
Okay, you can go back and tell them now. It's too late to do anything about it. You can fix it next year. Okay. All the meetings, the president shall preside at all meetings. This is a commitment to being the president. You go to all the meetings, you go to all the board of directors and the club meetings and attend the advisory meetings. You shouldn't be thinking, I'm going to be the president, but I'm going to be gone for 6 months to a year, so I can't do that. The president needs to be there. And there will be occasions when the president can't attend and he can send his vice president or nominate somebody else to go, but it should be a goal to attend all the meetings. So the president's the only one that can call for regular and special meetings, and the president is the only person who can cancel a meeting due to unforeseen circumstances. If you cancel a meeting, you need to let everybody know as quickly as possible. And the club secretary will work with you to distribute the information and let people know that it's your specific responsibility to call or cancel a meeting. The next important thing is an agenda. I know that a lot of clubs do not have agendas. Really can't run a meeting without an agenda and get everything done, not waste any time. So you've got to communicate with your office and members and committee chair to form an agenda. And you can see that people can call you and say, I'd like this on the agenda, and you can consider it. So once it's all put together, the president needs to check the agenda and then give it to his secretary to type it out. But before she distributes it, the president should check it one more time. Okay, and the secretary sends out the agenda before the meeting so that people have time to read it and get questions or get information together. So this is what an agenda helps you start a meeting on time and run the meeting smoothly. Most importantly, agenda allows you to finish a meeting on time. If you run over 5 minutes at a regular meeting, people are starting to get anxious. So it's really important to finish your meetings on time.
Well, reducing it the normal time for a meeting.
We go 6:30 to 8:30. That's our club. Some clubs, it's up to the club. Yeah, some clubs are shorter, some are longer. It depends what you do in your club meetings. Some people put everything into a board meeting and nothing into the club meeting. Some people have everything into the board and discuss it with the club members. So it depends what your club's comfortable with. Okay. So the agenda contains different items. It's a call to order, there may be a mission statement. It has the invocation that technically should come before the pledge because we put God before country. And I'll tell you a few exceptions. Pledge of allegiance, introduction of guests, introduction of the program speaker, general discussion on club business. If you do it all in the board meeting, then just comment on it at the club meeting so everybody knows what's going on. Finish with the tail twister to have some fun at the end of the meeting and then call for an adjournment. It's very simple, straightforward. If you've got an agenda, you won't miss any of those things. This is a typical agenda. This is what ours looks like. And our club's kind of formal on this stuff. I know most clubs aren't. And you probably can't read it because it's not really sharp. But we do the pledge before we do the invocation. It's just because we have a song leader and the song leader does the pledge. And he's already up there doing the songs. It's very flexible. You do it, whatever the club's familiar with, whatever the club wants to do. Okay, so yeah, as I said, some clubs have a detailed formal business section in each meeting with members asked to provide minutes and reports. Some clubs use their board meetings to formalize the business. Whatever format you use, the meeting should basically be light and be fun. It shouldn't be heavy, boring things. They should be, you can discuss things, get away. Your club, your way, you do it however your club wants to do it. Because the elephant in the room is parliamentary procedure, something everybody hates and nobody wants to do. It's basically a set of rules that really format a meeting and make a meeting more formal. And LCI recommends Robert's rules. There's Robert's rules. You've got in your thing, you've got the website to go to and look at Robert's rules. It tells you what it is and gives you frequently asked questions about it. There's no hard rule about having to use Robert's rules at a meeting, but it's a great tool because it gives everybody a chance to say what they want. It stops a lot of infighting. You get the business done efficiently. And it includes every member having a right to say something, including the minority members. So everybody feels included. So this is how it works. A member makes a motion. Another member seconds or supports that motion. If there is no second or support, the thing dies. It's done. You don't discuss it any further. You have a group discussion that everybody gets to say whatever they want to say, pros and cons for the motion. And this is the point where people can put in an amendment. They can say, in the discussion group, they can say, I make a motion to amend the original motion. And then you go on and discuss the amendment. And during the amendment discussion, there may be another amendment, and you keep going down. And then when you get to vote on them, you go backwards. The last amendment that was in is the first one you vote on. If it passes, then that becomes the new rule. It's a lot simpler than it sounds, but it's worth doing that if you can kind of get the hang of it. Okay, remember the role of the president of the meeting. The president's the standing authority of the meeting. He controls the meeting, and he controls the format of the meeting. And the thing you've got to be familiar with is conflict resolution. During a meeting, you're going to get conflict. You're going to talk about things that people don't like, and you've got to learn how to deal with conflict, how to resolve conflicts. And there are several things you'll see later on shows you how to do that. Communication is one of the most important things that the president does. So primary communication with your club should be face to face. It's the most efficient, effective way of communicating with anybody is to literally stand in front of them and talk to them. So many presidents now simply send out emails. People don't see them, or they go in. And responding to emails, you can get some pretty narky stuff coming back, which they won't tell you to your face. So it's much better to talk to somebody if you can. Of course, everybody else knows that everything else, telephone, email, e-clubhouse, snail mail and social media all work. You have to remember that some of the members won't be tech savvy. We've got 5 members in our club that are not tech savvy. And we've always got to send them documents in the mail or phone them or talk to them that way. So don't forget the people that can't communicate by social media. And always, whatever you do on communication, do not exclude somebody. It's really easy to get a little cliquey group together that think they kind of do everything. If you do that, you'll lose the members immediately. The people that get shut out and think they're shut out, they'll leave. Nothing you're going to do is going to bring them back if they don't feel part of the club. So everybody needs to be aware of the news and the information about the club. So if you've not got good communication, or if you've got not good communication with one person, you're going to lose them. So make sure that doesn't happen. Bring everybody into the room. And don't forget to communicate outside your club. Everything you do outside the club reflects on the club. So what you need to do is make sure that everybody wears vests or some lion regalia. Get banners for the events. Make sure everybody knows that it's Lions. And a good president always carries membership forms with it. So the basic role of the president is to be a leader. Leader provides motivation and guidance to the club. So you've got to use your prior experience and available resources to capitalize on the leadership potential. Look at the leadership course in the Lions Learning Centre. Develop your leadership skills. Remember, a boss is not automatically a leader. Build a shared version with club members. Guide and encourage members to achieve club goals. Never forget that every member has an important role to fill. Every single member of your club can do something or put something in to support the club. So whatever you do, work together to maximize the club potential, and the president has to lead by example. So participation, as a minimum, the president should attend district events. These are the banner exchange, fall conference, parade of checks, spring training, district convention. Attending these functions will enable the president to connect with other clubs in the district. It's important to get new ideas from all the other clubs. So you won't do that if you don't go visit. You should encourage your club members to visit, to go to zone meetings and district events, and they can see how other people do it. Okay, you've all taken the first step. You've come to this meeting. This meeting's giving you a very general overview. We've only got 45 minutes. It's not time to give you all the details. But I thank you for turning up today as a first step to becoming a great president. Okay, here's the resources that you need. There's free online courses and the LCI website. Well, I've tried the LCI website. Here's a better way to get to the LCI website.
Yeah.
Okay, if you go into whichever way you go into the website, you end up, this is what the website looks like. And you'll get to a thing called Learn, Lead and Grow. And we'll see where the blue arrow is. That's the click on that, and that's the Learn. It's called Learn Online. Okay. You get directed to the Access page, and you click on Access Learn. It's not easy. I mean, it should be one step. Okay. Then you get to the sign-in page, where you put in your email address and your password. And if you've not used this before, you have to set up a password. So you get in there, you signed into your account on LCI. Okay. And this is the next page that comes up. There is an easier way to get to this, but it sometimes doesn't work. You'll see the buttons on the top. You've got My Line on the left, you've got My LCI, and then with the one with the arrow is called Learn. So we go to Learn next. But remember that My LCI was one of the buttons, so we can come back to that. Okay, Learn, Lead, Grow opens, and you click on Go. So finally, you reach the welcome page, and you click on the library. And now you've got a whole list of classes, and you're going to click on the Club President Learning Path, which on this screen is the second one down. It's not very sharp, so you can't see it. And now you're almost there. So you click on Continue the Learning Path for the class that you want. It opens the class, and there's a 0% on the screen, and that tells you how much of the class you've completed. You can complete part of the class and go back to it and do it again. Classes, this one's all about the president. And there's a little quiz after each section, and the little percentage thing goes up until you're finished. LCI keeps records of all of this stuff, so when you go up the line later in your Lions career, this is all important stuff. Except last time they refreshed it and changed the format, they lost all the mine. These are the classes you need to take, okay, from that panel. So there's leadership, coaching, meeting management, communication, club president responsibilities, delegation, time management, conflict resolution. I think that's important. And the president's learning. They are actually interesting to do. They're kind of fun. They just take a little time. And once you get into them, you'll really find them fun. Okay. If there's not enough classes for you, you don't need to go to Cambridge University, you can go to Lions University. And Lions University is run by an organization called USA Canada, which kind of partners with LCI. And there's the website to get to Lions University. Okay. The university has 3 levels. It has bachelor's, master's, and a doctorate. The one you're interested is the bachelor's class. Okay, this is free online training. I really encourage everybody to do this because this is kind of really interesting stuff. Okay. This is what the page looks like when you go to Lions University. You sign in or create a new account the same way. Okay. And then you'll be directed to the classes. You go into the bachelor's section, and this is the club president section. This is an elective class. You have to do 15 classes that take an hour each to get a bachelor's degree. 10 of them are mandatory. You have to pick 5 out of 10 that are elective. One of the elective ones is the president, the other one's the secretary, and so on. Complete the course. It's a 1-hour course with I think about a 10-question quiz at the end. And then it registers as completed. When you've completed all of the classes, okay, you'll get your bachelor's certificate. To get your bachelor's certificate, you go to the USA-Canada Forum, and the international president will give it to you personally. Okay. Another resource that's coming up is Higgins Lake. Their leadership class here is $250. I don't know if anybody, you can get your clubs to kind of chip in something to help you out with that. It's a 3-day residential course, absolutely a must. This is a fantastic class. We've had 3 days in Higgins Lake, which is beautiful. It usually snows up there in November. The entertainment at night, the food, it's really great. The accommodation's 2 people in a little cabin. So if you've got somebody to go with, you can share that room with them. Otherwise, it's popped up. You'll just get somebody to share with them. Cute new Lion. Okay, there's more advanced classes. There's one called ALI with an E. It's the Emerging Lions Leadership Institute. If you're already signed up to be a president next year, or you've been a president before, you can't do this one. It's too low down for you. The one you'll need to do is ALI with an A. And these are 3-day residential programs too, and they come all over the country. I did one in Chicago when I did mine. So if you are a president now or a president next year, you should consider doing ALI. Especially if you're going to be a zone chair or a district governor. Really important, that class. It's a very interactive class. It's very intense. It's a lot of work. You get, accommodation and food. You meet tons of lines from all over the country. Okay. Going back to my LCI, this is just a brief presentation. When you become president, you'll get access to the My LCI club page. And it's just got information about the club. Okay, let's check through this real quick. If you go to the membership page, it's got information on every member of your club. That's all the pertinent information. So just check to make sure that's current and up to date. And then there's a drop-down menu. Go to the next slide. Okay. So next year is the election. This is getting towards the end of the year, and you've got to elect the officers for the next year. So it's the president's responsibility to oversee the officer elections and ensure the process is transparent and meets LCI deadlines. Okay, review the election guidelines on the LCI website. Sorry, the LCI website again, but you've got to be familiar with that document, okay? All right. So the president has to appoint the nominations committee. The nominations committee have to be, there they are, they have to be just like that. Not biased, completely neutral people that are looking for the future officers that can do the job, want to do the job, and are enthusiastic about it. And again, they shouldn't be picking people because they did it last year. So you've got to get the officer list into LCI by the due date, and that changes a little bit every year. Then LCI has time to update all the officer information and grant access to the officers to the LCI sections of the website. So again, that's the president's responsibility. Okay, you need to finish off the year with a bang. These guys in the club have worked the tails off all year to make you look great. So give them a party, thank them for what they've done, consider Melvin Jones or Ken Lansner as a fellowships if the club's got the money to do it. Melvin Jones costs $1,000. Ken Lansner costs $1,000. There's a $500 option. If you can't afford it, make certificates of appreciation. If the president just prints out certificates and hands them to people, it's worth, people think so much of that. It doesn't need to be fancy. And every club should have a Line of the Year award. So the membership votes for the Line of the Year. Okay, so that's the last meeting. Make it a party.
So where do you find those certificates of appreciation?
The certificates, we make our own. Because on Word's got certificates too.
So when.
On Word, yeah. And the certificates on Word. And you can make stuff up on Word too. It doesn't have to be very fancy. It's nothing official. You can probably buy them from LCI.
I see, yeah, I found
Yeah.
it there and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing's cheap in that shop. Okay, now you think you're done. It's June the 30th, you're not done. Past presidents are expected to become LCIF chairs in the year following their service as president. 1 year commitment to drag as much money as you can from your members. Okay. So you can review the LCIF information on the website. It's LCIF has its own website. And be aware of the ways to give. You need to let your members know how easy it is to give money to LCIF. You can contribute as an individual, one-time payment to LCIF. You can be a contributing member, which means you sign up to so much money every month. Or you can buy a Melvin Jones fellowship. And a lot of clubs get Melvin Jones fellowships and use them as awards. They're really not awards, they're fellowships. It's cost $1,000 to get that fellowship, but it's a phenomenal thing to give to somebody. You're also going to be a mentor. You've got all this wealth of experience serving for a whole year. So make sure that the new president coming in, you're there to help them, but don't direct them, don't lead them, don't force them. It's their year. Always remember it's their year. You're there to help if they ask for help. So what's next? Well, you leave. If somebody in your club wants to move up, which is typically a first vice president, you've got to step out of the way. You've got to give everybody a chance to move up. If you start blocking it, your club has a president that's 8, 9 years, the people that are coming in at the bottom think, I'm never going to be president. So make sure, just get out of the way and let people move up. Okay, but you don't have to move out, you can move up. So the next step is to become a zone chair. And I think that's the best job in the whole of Lions. You get to manage a small group of clubs, probably 5 or 6. It's like being a mini DG, it's really fun. The zone chairs are appointed by the district governor. So if you want to be a zone chair, you need to start moving up to the district governor that's going to be incoming. There's usually plenty of spaces. There are people who are fighting for these positions, and I think they should be, because it really is a neat job. So, and once you've been a zone chair, you're all free to go to the top and become a district governor. So that's the whole thing. So I want to thank you for listening through it. I say it's very brief, it's very baseline stuff. Not time to do it in detail, but you've got all these resources now you can go home and look at and learn how to be a great president and have a great club. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Does anybody on the Zoom have a question?
Roger, just a couple comments.
Yeah.
The committees he talks about, you have to be careful about not micromanaging. Okay, if I promote, if I have this committee that's doing whatever, roadside cleanup, okay, or Maggie's Wakes for Kids, or whatever, okay?
Yeah.
That group and that chairman is gonna do it their way, okay? So you kind of appointed them to do it that way.
Yeah.
Don't sit back and say, well, why aren't they getting the material from over here? They can get that cheaper, or they can get more, if they did it that way, or white cane, why did they pick those days? Why didn't they do one on these days?
Yeah.
You just let the committees run, and try not to.
Basically give your committees a task
Yeah.
and a finish date.
Yeah.
And just look over the shoulder now and again to think they're gonna hit it, and if they're not, you can offer some advice, it's advice, it's not, you've got to do this.
Yeah.
And,
Well, simply be a committee member,
right,
you know, be supportive, show up to their meetings, show up to their event
yeah,
as a member. What do you need me to do?
right.
Be supportive.
You're right, you don't
Be
want to
supportive.
impose your thoughts on the committee, because that's their, and you know, if you start to direct a committee, especially a committee chair,
5-minute warning.
thank you, then they're going to, you know, lose interest. That's the last thing you want to do.
Yeah.
You want the committee chairs to be really enthusiastic.
The other thing he alluded to was the district newsletter, and hopefully that's Kathy Keeney puts that together and it comes out to everybody. Hopefully you're forwarding that to the board. Roger does an excellent job with our club of sending out a newsletter every month. Okay, and it's pretty detailed and it's pretty great. And a lot of it gets in the district newsletter, but that might be something to think about, because not all of your members can make your meetings, you know, and just that, you know, just a little quick blurb out to everybody, you know, this is what we did last month, this is what we got going next month. So, you know, be sure to come to the meetings to choose our programs, or we just finished up White Cane Collection, we made a lot of money, we just finished up road cleanup, save the environment, things like that, or just, you know, some kind of communication out to just your club on a monthly basis, really helps, I think.
Okay, anybody else? Anything answering? We got anything on Zoom?
Nope.
Oh, okay,
I can give one example, when you don't have a committee chair for something that you have a line item on your budget. We had a situation like that in our club. And I had been talking to Maggie, Maggie's Spriggs for Kids, and she mentioned a project that we would, if we wanted to do it. So I went to the board because there's no chair. And so I talked to Brian, who's our president, at the board meeting, and I said, I'm coming to the board because there's no chair. And Brian said to me, so are you telling me you're gonna be the chair now?
I said, thank you for stepping up.
But, and then somebody else said, well, now that there's a chair, you don't need to discuss it at the board. But it, you know, there's just certain ways to follow, and it makes it so easy.
yeah, out of everything we've talked about, the one thing that you would really enjoy would be Higgins Lane.
That's
That's just phenomenal.
It's well worth
You can't imagine how good it is until you do it and how much fun it is. Just get to drive up there in the snow most years. For some weird reason, it seemed to be the snowy weekend. But you get to meet lions from all over the state, and it's a bunch of fun people, and they're all committed to doing what they do. So that's the one thing I would very highly recommend. And I definitely recommend that when you serve your year as president, you really do consider becoming a zone chair. Because we're always short of zone chairs. You know, there's 40, well, I think 41 clubs. So technically there's 41 ex-presidents and there's only 8 zone chairs. You think it'd be really easy to fill that position, but people see it as a big commitment. And it really isn't. And it's a lot of fun. You get to, you know, you've got your own little group of clubs to deal with. You don't have to do any of this committee forming or anything like that. You just visit the clubs and guide the clubs and organize 3 meetings. So the way it works is, you know, if you're a club president, you've got to form the committees. You do all the things we talked about. That's huge experience. When you get to be a zone chair, then you have a group of clubs, 6 or 8 clubs, and you don't have any of the paperwork stuff. And those 2 things together exactly is what a district governor is. They form the committees, the committee chairs, and they run 41 clubs instead of 6 or 8. So if you go on this stepping stone, it's really easy to go from one thing to the next. And so, you know, everybody, you're going to be a club president, you really should be thinking, you know, what can I do next? And what you do next is to start moving up the line, because one of the big problems with every district is that people don't want to move up. You know, certainly going into the district governor ladder, second, first and district governor, it's going to be a lot of time, so there's obviously some people can't do it. But you'll get so much more out of Lions by doing that than you do at club level, and you'll get so much more out of it being a president than being a club member, so. There's lots of steps, lots of things to do, you do what you feel comfortable with and you have fun. That's what it's all about. Okay, thank you.
Roger, one thing I wanted to mention, on the agenda, typically having a program and having people come in and inform the club members of what's going on in the community and reaching out is a key thing on the annual meeting or the meetings, the weekly or monthly meetings, wherever they are.
Yeah. And remember, you can invite, when you do the board of directors meetings, you can invite the club members to take part in that. That's always worth doing. They don't have a vote, but they can sit and listen and they can interject their ideas into the meeting too.
I think it's important, you've got a great deal of tools that the president put with this information, but don't ever forget, it's your club, your way.
Exactly right. Every club's different.
Yeah.
You know, I had the privilege of being district governor to go around and visit every club. And you know, there's clubs with 6 or 8 members that are way more active than the clubs with 30 members.
Yeah.
And every club does it differently. You can't, you know, this isn't a blueprint, but this is the way it will be. You know, you've got to work with your club members and agree the way to do it, you know.
Just find things in here that really are gonna work in your club and the
Yeah.
things that they.
Yeah.
So much.
But the president definitely has the right through the board to get rid of things so they don't become long-term losers. And that's another thing that happens with lots of clubs. You know, we've done this project for the last 20 years, you know, and if you look at it in more detail, every year you're spending hours and hours and hours on it, making $10. Unless it's giving you recognition in the community or for something, it's giving you the publicity. If you're not getting anything out of it, you'd be better doing something else. So, and the president can lead all of that stuff. Okay. Thank you.
Good job.
Okay. Thank you. So that'll conclude the meeting.